For Nowthen City Council at large, where two will be elected. The candidates are Rob Schiller, Jason Alders, Mary Rainville, and Dan Breyen. Rob Schiller is not here tonight, but has submitted a statement, which I will read before we begin the forum. Here is his statement. My name is Rob Schiller. I have been a resident of Nowthen for 7 years. I have been married to my wife Jean for 22 years. We have 2 boys, Robbie and Riley. I owned and operated an electrical company for 20 years. I enjoy living in the city of Nowthen due to the quiet, small town feel, and I do not want to see that changed. I currently serve on the City of Nowthen Planning Commission. I served on the City of Ramsey Planning Commission Board of Adjustments. I also served on the Anoka County Library Board. The reason I'm running for Nowthen Council is I don't think the city is going in the right direction. I would like to make the city a positive place to live and work. I would like to leave the lots 5 acres average. I would also like to let the city staff do their job and not be micromanaged. Streamline permit processing, open, transparent communication with staff and all residents of the city of Nowthen. I would like to improve technology services such as the fire department, natural gas, and internet. I would like to also improve relationships with neighboring communities. My main goal would be to maintain the city of Nowthen as a rural, small field city that is safe for all residents. My website, Schiller for Nowthen at email is schillerfornowthen@gmail.com. Okay. All right. We will begin the forum with 3 introductory questions that were provided to candidates in advance. Candidates will answer each question on a rotating basis, and all answers will be limited to 1 minute. And we will start with Jason Alders. The first question, describe your background and community involvement.
So I've been a resident of Nowthen since 2016. I moved up here from Rogers, where we lived for 20 years. And we really seen Rogers change. Originally it was Hassan Township, and it got annexed into Rogers while we were living there. And we really seen it change from a small town rural feel to more of a suburb. So we moved up here to get away from that, and moving into Nowthen was like stepping back when we first moved into Rogers. So that's really one of the reasons that I want to come up here and be on the city council. Currently I'm in the Nowthen Planning and Zoning. I've been on there since 2018, and it's been a great experience. We help change the 2040 comp plan and move the planning and zoning and the business community back out onto the main road. And we really want to be able to help the city of Nowthen continue on its rural feel and go from there. Oh.
Okay, thank you. Great. Dan Breyen, describe your background and community involvement.
First off, I want to say Happy Constitution Day. I've been born and raised in Nowthen, and I've lived here for over 40 years. I'm married with 2 children, and I live on family farmland. I've been volunteered at the Farmers Market and at the Heritage Fest. I've been putting extra time in helping out at the recycling center, processing what's been dropped off. I have a degree in math computer science from St. John's University. I work on our technology committee at church, and I participated on our development committee at another church. I first became interested in serving on our city council and participating on the Nowthen Internet Committee several years ago. I currently represent the city on the Anoka County Fire Protection Council, as well as the Upper Rum River Watershed Management Organization, and I currently meet regularly with elected officials from other cities in the area to share ideas that could benefit Nowthen.
Thank you. Okay, Mary Rainville, describe your background and community involvement.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rainville, and I'm running for re-election to the Nowthen City Council. I do want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing tonight's candidates forum. It's something the residents have discussed in recent years, and I'm glad to see it happen. My husband Scott Babcock and I are 16-year residents of Nowthen. We treasure our country atmosphere, and we truly enjoyed becoming active participants in the community. My experience in Nowthen government consists of serving on the city council and on the planning and zoning committee. Prior to joining the city council, I attended meetings for probably 4 years. So I had a good background of what was happening. In my professional career, I recently retired from the Minneapolis Police Department after serving in positions of administrative assistant to the chief, police support technician, and 911 operator. Prior to that, I was a VP of a residential concrete contractor, and I've held positions with Northwestern Bell, or now CenturyLink. My community activities include serving the Nowthen residents since 2008, on the Nowthen Heritage Festival Committee, the Nowthen Lions since 2011, the Nowthen Farmers Market since 2010, and then I joined the Nowthen Seniors. Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, we will move to the next question, which is why are you seeking this office? And Mary Rainville, you will answer first.
All right. I would like the opportunity to continue the work that I've been part of, including the adoption of the 5-year road and capital improvement plans, and to continue with refining our budgeting process. The council's previous financial decisions resulted in Nowthen receiving a AA credit rating, which is quite unique for a small city like ours. This means when large projects which require bonding are required, the residents benefit along with the city with the lower interest rates that bond rating rating provides us. I'd also like to continue working to help Nowthen keep its rural feel and the current 5-acre average lot size. I'm proud of our combined efforts, which resulted in Nowthen being removed from the Met Council jurisdiction in regards to land use. This means going forward, the residents will determine their future, a future which reflects their needs, values, and ones they can be proud of. And I would like the opportunity to work with the new city clerk, Lori Strike, to really focus on city needs, whether it be establishment of the Nowthen Fire Department, determining long-term use of the recycling center, and defining building and park standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Dan Breyen, why are you seeking this office?
I'm seeking to serve another term on the Nowthen City Council because this is an exciting time for Nowthen. We're in the process of establishing our own fire department for emergency services. I've worked with Representative Dowd and Senator Benson, as well as the City of Ramsey, on legislation to transfer the retirement funds for the current firefighters. I would like to continue to work with the City of Ramsey on a separation plan to successfully start our own service. Recently, there's been expansion of the internet and natural gas in our city. I've been working directly on the internet project and would like to see it through.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, and now Jason Alders, why are you seeking this office?
So I really believe Nowthen's a special place. I mean, if we look at the city of Nowthen, it's 4,400 to 4,700 residents, and it's about the same size landmass as the Elk River area. So if we look at what we have versus Elk River, we have a fairly low population with a large landmass, so people really enjoy the acreages that they have. They can ride their horses like we do, they can ride their four-wheelers, they can enjoy hunting. There's a lot of activities that they enjoy on their own, and I really want to help shape that for the future to make sure that we continue what people like today and keep that going into the future with, we talk about keeping a 5-acre average lot size, and as people do developments, as some of the people like to do, I mean, we want to make sure we can shape that so we maintain the look and the feel of Nowthen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move to question 3, and we'll have Dan Breyen answer this first. What are your goals for Nowthen's future?
Thank you. When I ran for city council 4 years ago, a goal of mine was to continue to reinforce Nowthen as a rural community. That is still the case. I would like to build on that premise and find ways to continue to modernize our city, using my relationships with neighboring communities as well as county and state contacts to find other ways to benefit the city. We are one of the cities with the lowest tax basis in Anoka County, and I will continue to work towards keeping the city with this distinction. Another goal of mine is to continue to infuse technology when possible to modernize city services, like scanning documents that we currently are, as well as upgrading the city website to provide more services to our residents electronically while still retaining that excellent customer service that's available at our city offices. I am continuing to investigate more options to provide internet services, working with Anoka County to explore options with CenturyLink, Comcast, Zayo, Arvig, and/or Midco. And I've been contacted to see if they are interested in expanding the high-speed internet throughout the city.
Okay, thank you. And now, Mary Rainville, what are your goals for Nowthen's future?
Most important is the development of our new Nowthen Fire Department. This is an endeavor that's unique, as a unique opportunity to mold a department which reflects the residents' needs and values. Also, to continue refining as needed the city's budgeting process and our road and capital improvement plans. Our goal is to keep the residents' input in the forefront when making decisions regarding land use. Specifically, residents' request to keep that rural feeling of Nowthen along with its 5-acre average lot size, and to work within the parameters of the 2040 comp plan and make decisions which are best for the residents. And to work alongside our city clerk to continue to provide open and honest and respectful city government. I want to support Mrs. Strike in her efforts to mechanize processes which will make it easier for residents to receive the services they need, and to support her goal of developing staff to better serve the community and to better the staff itself.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will move to questions submitted by the community. And again, we'll have you give a 1-minute response to each one. And some of these questions you may have already addressed in your statements, but we'll go ahead and ask them anyway, okay? So Mary Rainville will ask you the first question, and that is, COVID has intensified the need for reliable high-speed internet in Nowthen. And this is a 2-part question. First, please discuss how you would work with local, county, and federal governments to secure funding for high-speed internet throughout Nowthen. And then second, how would you convince additional high-speed internet providers to bring affordable services to all residents?
COVID has brought us challenges. Myself, I was involved in some early activities with the internet. I felt it was better that we have a smaller group working with the providers and our government officials, and Councilmember Breyen and Mayor Pilon have taken that effort on. I did put Mayor Pilon in contact with our U.S. Senator's office, and hopefully that would have brought some help. Convincing businesses to come in here is difficult as far as providing service such as gas or the internet because of our large rural areas. They need concentrated areas for it to be beneficial for them financially. So that's a tough thing, but I believe that I don't have the expertise in that, and so I'm relying on Councilmember Breyen and Mayor Pilon to continue the work that they've done for almost 2 years now on the internet. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then Dan Breyen, yes. COVID has intensified the need for reliable high-speed internet in Nowthen. So first, would you please discuss how you would work with local, county, and federal governments to secure funding for high-speed internet throughout Nowthen? And second, how would you convince additional high-speed internet providers to bring affordable services to all residents?
Thank you for the question. I actually had a conference call on Tuesday with Anoka County and the Economic Development Department there, where we're continuing to look at options to see what's available. We have had contact through the county, as I mentioned, with CenturyLink and Comcast, Zayo, Arvig, and Midco. I got an email today from Senator Benson's office with some more contacts down at the state that we can continue to pursue to see what we can do to find a source for internet on the short term to help out with the COVID and the current needs of the residents, as well as a long-term goal to continue to distribute high-speed internet throughout the city.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then Jason Alders, Again, COVID has intensified the need for reliable high-speed internet in Nowthen. So first, please discuss how you would work with the local, county, and federal governments to secure funding for high-speed internet throughout Nowthen. And second, how would you convince additional high-speed internet providers to bring affordable services to all residents?
So great question. That's the somewhat of the tough part about Nowthen, because what we love about Nowthen from a small town feel is also hard from some of the services that people are starting to get accustomed to and really need from a day in the life and from a job standpoint. So I think the first thing that we would look at is, from a transparency standpoint, what is the need, where is the biggest gap, and where do we need to try to close those gaps, and then go to businesses and understand what are the options and what's out there from a provider standpoint. It sounds like Dan's done some great work in the past and Mary supported him, and we would continue looking at what are the options to serve our citizens. So I don't know that I have exactly the answer, but we would look at and see what are the possible solutions and what are those costs associated with that.
Okay, thank you. All right. We'll move to the next question. And Jason Alders will have you answer this first. What are your thoughts on current businesses in Nowthen and future development? What would you do to provide a healthy business climate?
I think the businesses Nowthen are incredible. I love supporting the current businesses that we have, and the businesses have supported Nowthen. If we look at A&B, they provided a warming house for the hockey rink, and they put up some of the light poles around there. And if we look at some of the other businesses, the Cabinet Shop has an annual car show and brings in residents from outside of the city, and a lot of those residents support the local restaurants in town. So I'm for business. I like business coming into the business areas. We just had we have a new business building right now that we approved through the planning and zoning last year. Sundell's built a really nice building a few years ago. So those businesses bring in revenue to the city that we can use. So I'm for businesses, and I'm for the businesses bringing in goods and services, and our local residents supporting those so they stay here.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mary Rainville, what are your thoughts on current businesses of Nowthen and future development? What would you do to provide a healthy business climate?
Nowthen is fortunate to have a variety of businesses that service both in a retail and an industry type basis. I think the city has provided locations in our commercial park for them. In our comp plan, we expanded the commercial area along the major drags, 22, 5, keeping it away from the more developed residential areas. Business is hard right now, and it will be hard to bring businesses in because businesses are struggling. But I am more than willing to work with any business that would like to come into Nowthen. That brings jobs for our residents and services for our residents also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dan Breyen, what are your thoughts on current businesses of Nowthen and future development? What would you do to provide a healthy business climate?
We have a unique opportunity because not only do we have businesses in our commercial and industrial areas, but we also have home-based businesses. So finding home-based businesses where they're able to, that are a fit in the communities that they live in and the neighborhoods that they're at, can be a benefit for the city, as well as looking for more expansion in our current commercial and industrial areas. As Councilmember Rainville mentioned, we did expand our business districts to provide more opportunities for businesses to be able to move into our great city. It's nice to see that we continue to get more businesses, and I'll continue to work for businesses, for other companies that wish to move into Nowthen and join our great community.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next question. And Dan Breyen, we'll have you answer this first. Do you support the 5-acre lot per home requirement and prohibiting businesses in residential areas?
Well, clarify, it's not, the current zoning is not 5 acres per home, the current zoning is an average of 5 acres. So some developments may have larger lots, but the average density is 5 acres. So that is what will keep that country feel that everybody likes to move out here for, and I'd like to keep that going. And as I mentioned, depending on what the home-based business is, there may or may not be a fit in a residential area. So each individual instance would have to be evaluated individually to see what that fit would be. And if it is a match, then with a little impact on the residents, then I would say that business should be able to be in that area.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, do you support the home requirement for acreage and prohibiting businesses in residential areas?
So, as Dan mentioned, it's a 5 acre average, so yes, I support that. If somebody wants to develop their land, I think it's totally within their right to develop their land, and our current zoning requirements are a 5 acre average, and I support that, and I support landowners that want to develop that land in those current requirements. From a business perspective, as we were on the planning and zoning, we did redefine the 2040 comp plan and put in more industrial and commercial properties along our main throughway. That's not a Nowthen road. So my preference would be, if we have a big business come in, is that we would put it in our our commercial and industrial properties. If it's a small homeowner business that comes through the planning and zoning as a conditional use permit, and would be discussed in that team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And Mary Rainville, do you support the 5 acre average per home requirement and prohibiting businesses in residential areas?
I do, and I have always supported the 5 acre average that we have in Nowthen. The businesses, again, our 2040 comp plan that we worked on increased our commercial area for businesses. If a business fits the neighborhood and can adhere to the zoning requirements for a home-based business, then they should be allowed in a residential area. But it's up to the Planning and Zoning Committee and the council to determine whether or not they make that fit. So we have to be careful. We do not want to be a burden on the neighborhood. We don't want to be a burden on the infrastructure of that neighborhood. And so it has to be very carefully looked at on an individual basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next question. And Mary Rainville, will have you answer this one first. What do you see as the greatest need or challenge for youth in Nowthen? And how would you, as an elected official, help to solve that issue?
We have a difficult time in Nowthen with our students going to 3 different school districts. We've got St. Francis, Anoka, and Elk River. And the programs associated with those schools, their activities are elsewhere. We have limited resources in the city of Nowthen, and we have limited locations for them to do things. So it's a tough call. We do have our ice rinks. We do have 2 parks. One park has fishing and has swimming abilities. But as far as organized sports, I think that would take a lot of work to bring that into Nowthen, because again, our students right now are organized based on their school district, which is the 3 different districts. Nowthen doesn't have a school, doesn't have a district, so it would be difficult. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Dan Breyen, what do you see as the greatest need or challenge for youth in Nowthen, and how would you, as an elected official, help solve this issue?
I think there's a possibility to come up with a fit that would work. I mean, there are having the 3 different school districts can be a disadvantage. We do have some areas where, at least right now, for the younger kids, they can get together to have cornball. I know there are the school districts that do plan some recreational activities for, like, the softball team that they practice out here on the fields. So if there are activities where that would fit in, where we can get some coordination, that might be an option. But then, there is the opportunity to want to hang out with their school friends, which might be, living in a different city.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders,
Yeah.
what do you see as the greatest need or challenge for youth in Nowthen, and how would you, as an elected official, help solve the issue?
It's a great question. I've got 3 daughters. My oldest just graduated and is going to college, and I've got twins that are 15. So it's really about connections. It's like we keep talking about Nowthen as a fairly small population with a dense landmass. So it's really about how do you connect those kids to get together, and is it faster internet? Is it understanding? Is there some Facebook webpage that we can put together for the kids? Is it community activities that drive the kids to the city so they can understand who their neighbors are? When you have neighbors that are 2 and 3 miles away, it's very tough to get to meet them, and you rely back and fall back on your community of friends that are in potentially in one of the school districts that they may go to. So I think one of the challenges is how do you connect those kids to understand who their neighbors are and who their potential friends could be.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. And Jason Alders, we'll have you be the
Sure.
first responder. In its 2021 preliminary budget, the Nowthen City Council included $207,600 to operate its own fire department. Do you favor or oppose this decision, and why?
So there was a meeting last night just on the latest development with the fire department. Previously, we were underneath a different city, and those communications broke down, and now Nowthen is going on their own from a fire department. And I think from what's best for the city, I think that's the choice that we have. Ideally, we could have tried to keep that communication open. The costs are a lot more than it used to be, but we need to have the service for our city from a fire protection standpoint. Everybody needs that security. So do I support it? Yes. Do I wish we could have had a different decision a few years ago? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mary Rainville, in its 2021 preliminary budget, the Nowthen City Council included $207,000 to operate its own fire department. Do you favor or oppose this decision, and why?
Nowthen was faced with an increase in a budget request from the city of Ramsey. We currently contract with the Ramsey Fire Department. We had a set contract price that had been in effect for 10 years, I believe, if not longer. After we set our budget last year, they increased that from about 60,000 or 80,000 to 160,000. The discussions were then begun as to, can we do that ourselves? Can we have our own fire department, be responsible for our own fire department? Councilmember Breyen and Mayor Pilon worked for the last year and a half on that. I like the thought that we will have our own fire department. We already have a building, we already have equipment. It's just getting it up and running, and I think that's a benefit to our residents to have our own fire department.
Okay, thank you. And now Dan Breyen, in its 2021 preliminary budget, the Nowthen City Council included $207,000 plus to operate its own fire department. Do you favor or oppose this decision, and why?
Yes, I favor the decision. Just to clarify a few things, we are partnering with the city of Ramsey, but the city of Ramsey is a different community with different needs for their fire department. So they decided that it was best to go out on their own and give Nowthen the opportunity to build their own department. We already did have I think it was 110,000 in the budget in previous years to handle maintenance. So when you look at the overall budget, if you added in the 160,000 plus that the city of Ramsey wanted to add, it's pretty close to about the same.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the next question, and that is Dan Breyen. You will be the first one answering it. It's cities respond to county, state, and federal directions regarding COVID-19. Are there any other steps specific to Nowthen that you think should be initiated?
I think right now, the city of Nowthen is doing quite well with the given COVID current situation. We had an emergency management meeting this morning with the county to go over to talk about the current COVID plan and where the status of things are at the county and the state level. Nowthen is one of the cities on the low end with the number of total cases that are available. So, or the total cases for its residents. So, continuing with the current status quo, I would think that the city of Nowthen is in really good shape right now as far as COVID goes.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, the cities respond to county, state, and federal directions regarding COVID-19. Are there any other steps specific to Nowthen that you feel should be initiated?
So I think from a community standpoint, I think people are in a couple of different camps on what they believe is right for the COVID response on, do we need masks, do we need temp checks, or do we keep living the way we had been living prior to COVID? So I currently work for Caterpillar. I've been there for 25 years. I manage the facility down there, and our response is mask and temp checks. Nowthen is significantly different than where I work every day, and I appreciate the current response that Nowthen has taken in terms of we respect your right to wear a mask, but we also respect your right if you have some underlying health conditions that it may not be required in all cases. So I think the response is appropriate for the amount of cases that we've had in the city of Nowthen.
Okay, thank you. And Mary Rainville, again, cities respond to county, state, and federal directions regarding COVID-19. Are there any other steps specific to Nowthen that you feel should be initiated?
I can't think of any additional steps. We are following the guidelines of the other agencies. They have the higher level of expertise in regards to COVID and the types of requirements needed to be able to keep people safe. And I think it's smart of us that we're following those guidelines. Our cases have increased in the last week. And so it's important that people take precautions and do what is right for them as far as following guidelines. But I think that the city's done well. We have made changes to our city offices. We've changes here, to try to keep our employees safe and the residents that come into the office for business. But again, the big lead is the federal, state, and county agencies and what they are telling us to do. So.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question, a general question, and we'll have you, Mary Rainville, answer first. It's just, how do you feel you can better improve communications with your residents, with the residents of Nowthen? How can you improve communication with residents?
Communication with residents in Nowthen has always been difficult. We don't have a newspaper that covers us. We have 2 newspapers, and they are not highly subscribed to. They have not had a tendency to cover our meetings and what's happening within the city. We are in the process of working on our website to try to upgrade the website, and Lori has staff doing that along with Councilmember Breyen, and I think that's a good way to be able to work with residents and to talk to people. There's been discussion with our city clerk on doing a Facebook page. It would not be an interactive Facebook page, but it would be to provide information to the residents and then refer them back to the website. Mm-hmm. It is difficult. You can't mail something to every resident every time there's a change. But posting agendas and minutes and things like that is a good way to communicate.
Okay, thank you. And Dan Breyen, how do you feel you can better improve communication with your residents of Nowthen?
Great question, thank you. As was mentioned, as I have my iPad here, I'm all for technology. There is definite functionality and things that we can do by modernizing the website that provides access to posting on Facebook or Twitter or emails or text messaging. We do have our city newsletter. There's options in there that, depending on cost, that some communications can go out that way. And we do continue to post the city information on the website. And I think by having the website integrated, potentially integrated with Facebook, we can try to cover more bases to get to as many residents as we can. Because as Councilmember Rainville mentioned, using the published media newspaper isn't necessarily the greatest solution these days because we don't get all the coverage that's needed, and it's not necessarily timely.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, what do you feel how you can better improve communication with the residents of Nowthen?
I think it first starts with transparency. I mean, we have several positions on our committees that are open right now and haven't met in several months because of that. So I think we need to try to get our residents more involved in some of the activities within the city of Nowthen, and then drive that communication through those committees and let those committees make a decision and make a recommendation to the city council and move forward with those recommendations. So I think it starts with transparency. I think next step is to try to figure out what positions we have open. We have openings on the Planning and Zoning Committee that we haven't filled. We have openings on other committees that we haven't filled, and get those spots filled to get the community involved. And once we have that, we can improve those communication lines.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll now move to the next question. And we'll have Jason, you'll be with the first one to answer. According to the 2010 U.S. Census, 96% of Nowthen residents are white. Given that the United States and Minnesota demographic trends indicate increasing diversity, do you think there are barriers to overcome for a more inclusive Nowthen? If so, what would be your solutions?
I guess from an overall standpoint, I think anybody that wants to come to Nowthen is welcome. I think some of the barriers to come into Nowthen is it's a pretty unique, special city. So when a property does come available, they're hard to come by and they're more expensive. So I think from somebody that wants to come in, it's tough. We looked for a year and a half before we could find a place in Nowthen that met our needs. So I think the encouragement of our 5-acre average for people that want to come to Nowthen and have a rural lifestyle, and understanding our landowners that are ready to develop that land is a starting point for people to come into Nowthen if they want to.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mary Rainville. Given that the United States and Minnesota demographic trends indicate increasing diversity, do you think there are barriers to overcome for a more inclusive Nowthen? And if yes, what would be your solution?
Everyone is welcome in Nowthen. We would not turn people away that want to move to Nowthen. Barriers, though, as Mr. Alders mentioned, is the availability of homes and the prices of those homes. So anyone that can afford to come out can come out. We don't have a lot of sales in Nowthen. I think the last 2.5 years there were 70 house sales, which is not a lot for when you think of that. Those went really fast. The one right down the block from me went in less than 2 days. So you have to be aware of what's there, and you have to be able to afford what's there. And that's probably the biggest challenge, is the cost of the homes, and then also having transportation, good transportation to come and go from home to work. We don't have a public transportation system here, so you cannot depend on that. You have to have cars to get you to the locations.
Okay, thank you. And Dan Breyen, again, given that the United States and Minnesota's demographic trends indicate increasing diversity, do you think there are barriers to overcome for a more inclusive Nowthen? And if so, what would be your solutions?
As mentioned, Nowthen's open to anyone who wants to come in our town, and I, would welcome, any and all people to come to our city to enjoy the country feel. We are working, because we are in that rural community. It's a matter of coming up with if there's to be expansion on functions, it's a matter of coming up with funding for those, whether it be to provide more transportation options. But a lot of people don't necessarily want a Hy-Vee to come out to Nowthen. So, there are some challenges with getting with providing, access to that regular people, that everybody in general would want to be able to get to be able to transport around town.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. All right, we'll move to the next question. It was a slightly different place, and Mary Rainville will have you answer first. What type of leader would you say you are? What is your leadership style?
Well, I'm in the middle of 7 children, and so have dealt with multiple personalities in my family. I think I am a consensus builder. I can be tough, I can be bold, which is not everybody's cup of tea. But I think that I can bring people together, have conversations, discuss an issue, and come to resolution.
Okay, thank you. And Dan Breyen, what would you say, what type of leadership style do you have?
I would probably say I'm a analytical and a thinker. If a decision comes up, I want to make sure I have all the facts in place. When it's taking a look at funding for something, it's a matter of, well, are there other ideas? Is there other ways to get the same product or service for less money? Is there ways that can be cut here or there? Or do we need to add more in to make sure that we get what we need to pay for? Sometimes we have to pay a little extra to make sure it's something of value. So, I think that's a big part of it. I do come to like the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, even though I don't necessarily have to be here in person, because I want to make sure I have enough time to understand more of what the committee is talking about and having the issue, so that when the issue does come before council, I can use as much information as I can to make that decision.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, what type of leader would you say you are? What is your leadership style?
So as I previously mentioned, I'm the facility manager at Caterpillar down in Brooklyn Park, and we have over 400 employees that on our operations team. So my leadership journey spanned over 25 years while I've been working there. And when I first got into leadership, I had a team member that worked for me that didn't come to work when I started, and it drove me crazy. So at that point in my career, my leadership style was I'd micromanage him. So every day I would check in to see when he got here, and it literally drove me crazy. And finally I decided to entrust that he was doing his job, and I didn't care when he got there. I didn't care when he went home. I just cared that he got his job done. So when I changed from that micromanager style to trust the employees, it was a big shift in his performance, and it was a big relief from my stress level. So I changed from this micromanager to I entrust the team. If you ask me to make a decision, I will, but at the same time, I'm going to empower the team, let them bring recommendations to the council or to my team, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you. And now we'll move on to our last question, and we will have Dan Breyen answer this first. If you had a day off from campaigning, what would you do for fun?
What would I do for fun? Well, let's see. It would be, depending on what the weather is outside, it could be going for a bike ride, working in the yard, taking a walk with my wife at the park, or if it's raining, I'm probably spending some time working on a project or playing some video games on the computer.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, if you had a day off from campaigning, what would you do for fun?
So that's pretty easy for me. So I've got a wife, Jenny, that I've been married to since 1997, and I've got 3 daughters, and we are active in horses. So all 5 of us go to barrel races when we have days off, and we barrel race. So we're active into the horses. My campaign is vote for the guy on the horse. So if you look at my campaign pictures, I'm actually riding a horse and I'm carrying the national flag or the American flag. And we were at a barrel race and I was presenting the flag for the national anthem. So we enjoy riding, I enjoy spending time with the girls, and we love barrel racing.
Okay, thank you. And Mary Rainville, if you had a day off from campaigning, what would you do for fun?
Well, pre-COVID, if the campaign was during pre-COVID, I would be spending time with my family. I come from a large family. We do a lot of family events. So I would be doing that. Nowadays, it's spending time at home, using the time wisely to do some work around the house, or in nice weather being outside. We have 40 acres and we have paths that we walk, and that's what I enjoy, is being outside, being with my husband, and then if we could, being with my family.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now we'll have a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate, and Mary Rainville, we'll have you do first.
All right, thank you. First, again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing tonight's forum. I've been honored to serve as your council member and respectfully ask for your support. I believe the experiences I've gained in my professional and governmental positions, along with my community involvement, have provided me with the type of background which is suited for the position. As residents, we expect value for our tax dollars and want assurance that policies, procedures, and programs focus on providing quality services at a reasonable cost. Providing fiscally responsive budgeting is very important. During my time on the council, my goal has been to introduce ideas that enhance services within our budget or reduce expenses without compromising services. As in any community, we need to continually work towards open dialogue between the council staff and residents. We have a little pocket of heaven here, and we need to diligently work together to keep it. I've been humbled by the support I've received from the residents of Nowthen, and I respectfully ask for your vote in this year's election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dan Breyen, a 1-minute closing statement from you.
First up, yes, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on tonight. I would like the privilege of representing you, the residents of Nowthen, on the city council, to keep the country feel that we have, as well as being fiscally conservative at the same time. As I previously mentioned, we are one of the cities with the lowest tax basis in Anoka County. I will continue to work towards keeping the city with distinction. As more families are working and distance learning at home, having a reliable, fast internet connection is more necessary than ever before. I'll continue to use the resources available to me to bring that internet capacity to Nowthen. I want to keep our Nowthen community rural as it is now, and have a community that anyone who wants to be able to be out here can be, and as well as continue to work with our city staff to provide the excellent customer service that we have at the office, as well as the services that we provide to the residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Jason Alders, your 1-minute closing statement.
So I think everyone's kind of hinted at it. Nowthen's an incredibly special place. It's a place where you can ride horse down the road, you can ride your ATVs, you can ride snowmobiles in the wintertime, you can do some hunting, and you can live your life the way you want to. It's a fairly private place, and people like that about Nowthen, and people want to keep it that way. So as the planning and zoning, as we were on there, we're really trying to keep that feel with in Nowthen. As a city council member, you go from a recommendation body to a body that has ability to influence the current policy. So that's really what I want to do. I want to influence the current policy to keep Nowthen special. One of the big draws when we came up here was the ability to raise our family the way we wanted to and keep that small town feel. And as we look forward in Nowthen, that's what I'm looking to do.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. This concludes the forum for the Nowthen City Council at large, and I want to thank you candidates for speaking to voters about the issues in this campaign and for running for office in the Nowthen City Council at large race. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yes.